Now, in chapter 3 of Political Treatise by Baruch Spinoza, he does cover another area of the dynamics that play out between individuals and commonwealths and commonwealths and commonwealths. And one topic that he covers or he talks about or he touches on is on the balancing of the right of the commonwealth and the rights of the individual. Like what happens there. I think I've mentioned in another video that what happens when we form a commonwealth as human beings, we give some of our natural right to the group, which is the commonwealth, and sometimes not really to the group, but the sovereign, the one individual or group of people who kind of take that role of being the decision makers of how the commonwealth is going to survive. So we take some of our rights and give them out. So he talks about, let me read this. Each single citizen or subject has the less right, the more the commonwealth exceeds him in power. And each citizen consequently does and has nothing but what he may, by the general decree of the commonwealth, defend. So we don't know where this line lies anyways. We don't have the standard of how much natural right can we give up as citizens. Of course, people have different beliefs regarding that, and in fact that forms the basis of how political parties are formed in different countries. Some political parties believe we should limit the amount of the rights we give to the sovereign, and some are like we should give a lot more. So there's that fight kind of like that is ongoing and will be going on maybe forever, because there is no standard of how much right do we give up. But what he says, the citizen has less rights as the commonwealth takes most of those rights. And he says, if the commonwealth grants to any man the right. Now, let me not even read that, but just explain what my understanding of what he explained. Now, there is this thing of what happens if the state, the commonwealth, decides to tell one person to live however they want. Like you are no longer under the rules that we've set up. So he says when that happens, let me read that. If the commonwealth grant any man the right and they are in the authority to live after his own mind, by that very act, it abandons its own right. So the state abandons its own right by doing exactly that, by telling this person, like, yeah, just go on and live the way you want. The state has abandoned its own right and transfer the same to him, to whom it has given such a. But if it has given this authority to two or more people, now there's a difference. If it gives it to one person, it's kind of like it has abandoned its right regarding that individual. But if it does that to more than one person, this is Baruch's argument. I don't know why he thinks so. I was trying to understand why he thinks so, but this is what he says. But if it has given this authority to two or more, I mean authority to live each after his own mind, by that very act, it has divided the dominion. So he says if it's more than two people, now the commonwealth has split into two, because there are this group of people now who don't follow the rules of this state, and the commonwealth has just basically told them you are free to do however you want. Now, Baruch says in that situation, the state the dominion has split, it has divided. And if it has given this same authority to every citizen, now suppose the commonwealth, or let's say the supreme authority, let's say government, decides now everybody has been given the right to do whatever they want. So it's basically abolishing the law and the contract that formed the commonwealth. And he says in that state, when that happens, it thereby destroys itself and therefore remains to no more a commonwealth. But everything returns to the state of nature, all which is very okay. So let me go through this again. So if the commonwealth, the dominion, tells one person, one citizen, you are free to do however you want, you are no longer under the law. So it just kind of like it has abandoned some of it. The state has abandoned some of its right, the commonwealth, the dominion, that is. But if it tells more than two people that you two people, 3 or 4, 10 or 15 or 20 are now free to do however you want, you don't have to follow the law as we have it in this commonwealth, then it's kind of like it has subdivided the commonwealth into two or more, based on how those others will organize themselves. But if the dominion now tells everyone that from today henceforth, everybody can do whatever they want, it has basically abolished the law or the contract that formed the commonwealth, and that means the commonwealth is dead. Now, here is another thing he explains within the chapter that like most things I found interesting. He talks about the one thing that we cease to have, that is so sure we cease to have when we give the state some of our natural rights, and that is the right of being our own judges. I've never thought about it like that, but it makes a lot of sense, because it says that one we can never retain it. That's for sure we have to give up the right to judge whether we've done right or wrong. Because if we don't give up that, then there is chaos in society. So we can't retain the right to judge our actions. We give those up. And this is what it says. Moreover, we cannot even conceive that every citizen should be allowed to interpret the commonwealth decrees or laws. For were every citizen allowed this, he will thereby be his own judge, because each will easily be able to give a color of right to his own deeds, which by the last section is absurd. We see then that every citizen depends on himself, but on the commonwealth. All whose command he is bound to execute, and has no right to decide what is equitable or iniquitous, just or unjust. But on the contrary, as the body of the dominion should so speak, be guided by one mind, and consequently the will of the commonwealth must be taken to be the will of all. What the state decides to be just and good must be held to be so decided by every individual. And so, however iniquitous the subject may think the commonwealth decision, he is none the less bound to execute them. So, this right of deciding what is right or wrong, we have to give it up as citizens, and it has to be taken up by the dominion. And that's the only way we are going to have peace in the commonwealth, because if everybody is allowed to judge by themselves what is right or what is wrong, then according to Baruch Spinoza, then we are going to have chaos.